Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So in today's video, the P's are going to talk to us about how to know if your vibration is going up. Because if you've been doing your spiritual work for a while, starting to really dive in and do that deep inner work, sometimes we just want to know, is it working? So today the P's are going to share with us some of the signs that your vibration is rising. Because this isn't always easy for us to see in our daily life, right? We're doing the best we can, but we don't really know if it's working. So today the P's are going to give us some examples that we can look to in our daily life for proof that this is all working. But before we jump into today's topic, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. So, what are some of the signs that your vibration is actually rising? This is something that can be kind of hard to figure out as you look at your daily life, for the simple reason that as we do our spiritual work, we are still partially in the 3D energies where we don't see an immediate reflection. We have what is sometimes called an ego delay, which means that it takes a little time for us to see the reflection of all that hard work that we're doing. So the P's wanted to share some examples that we can look for as confirmation that our vibrations are actually going up from all of that spiritual work that you're doing. Now, one of the first things you may notice as your vibration starts to increase is that the world starts to get a little quieter. So, especially if you are doing some of that really important spiritual work around releasing limiting beliefs, and really, that is kind of the core thing that affects our vibration, is those limiting beliefs. So if you are doing intense work on kind of addressing your limiting beliefs, releasing them, as your vibration starts to go up, which it will, one of the first things you may notice is that your world starts to get quieter. Because as you start to release your limiting beliefs, these reflections start to leave your experience. What happens is your world gets a little calmer. Now, another thing that you may notice as your vibration starts to go up is that the 3D world starts to get farther and farther away from you. So right now, what a lot of starseeds and light workers are noticing is that the 3D world seems to be fading away. So the way this may show up for you is you may notice that you're just not running into in your daily life all of those stories of chaos and drama. It's just not crossing your path. You can go out in the world and no one's talking about it. You don't run into any TVs that are blaring mainstream news. You just notice that the entire 3D matrix storyline is starting to fade from your experience. What's happening is, as you raise your vibration, you're no longer a match for those denser timelines. So what happens is they start to dissolve from your experience. So one of those signs of the progress that you're making is the world starts to get a little quieter. You're not being slapped in the face with news stories that put you in fear, people talking about things that make you angry. It just starts to dissolve. That's one of the great ways that you can recognize your progress these days, is that world getting a little quieter. Now, another big sign that you are raising your vibration is that you'll start to feel pulled to make changes in your life. And this shows up in lots of different ways. One of the great ways that we will notice as we start to raise our vibration is we'll feel pulled to clean up our life. And the simple reason for this is as you raise your vibration, those things of denser nature. Maybe you're eating foods that aren't great for you or hanging out with people who aren't great for you. They will start to feel less interesting to you. They're just not a match to you anymore. So one of the great signs that you're really raising your vibration is you'll start to feel inspired and it won't feel like a chore to make these changes. You may feel pulled to clean up your diet, to start eating healthier, cleaner foods. You may feel very pulled to start cleaning up your environment. So using less chemicals in your house, starting to use better products that are cleaner, starting to be more conscious of how clean your water is, how clean your food is. These are all things that you're going to start to feel pulled toward as you start to raise your frequency. Because anything that is of a denser frequency is going to start to feel kind of icky. It's going to feel like it's just not appealing to you anymore, and you're going to feel motivated to make changes. And one of the cool things as you start to hit this stage of your raising of your frequency is that it's not going to feel like a chore to you. It's not like if you have ever had to make dietary changes that you didn't really want to make and you kind of had to force yourself to do it. This is going to feel like you're being inspired to, like you want to make these changes. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to do this all at once, because every little positive change you make is going to raise your vibration that much higher. So don't feel like you have to do all of this in one day. This is a process, but you will notice as you start to raise your vibration that you feel inspired to start cleaning up every aspect of your life. Now, another way that this will show up that you are raising your vibration is you're going to start to get much more particular about what you invest your attention in. So it's very common as you start to raise your frequency to start putting down the phone, to start getting off of social media, to start turning off the TV. You start to become, one of my teachers likes to call it being an energy sommelier, where you start to be very picky about the frequencies that you interact with. So you're not as tolerant of lower vibrational anything. So you start to just turn it off. This isn't about fighting with it or making it wrong or judging it. It's just about recognizing that it's not a match to who you are anymore. So many people will notice as they start to raise their vibration that they start to move away from mainstream sources of information, that they start to be very discerning with who they will listen to. So you may notice that you go from following hundreds of people on social media, listening to videos from tons of people, to only having 2 or 3 people who are still a vibrational match to you. So you start to get very, very selective about where you are willing to put your attention, because you know that what you put your attention on, you match energetically. It's called matching energies. And you start to be much more discerning about where you invest your energy. Now, another sign that you are raising your frequency is you start to get much better with your boundaries. And for a lot of light workers and starseeds, this has been kind of an issue for us. We have had a tendency to be people pleasers, to bite our tongues, keep the peace, not ruffle feathers. But as you start to raise your frequency, that goes out the window. You are no longer willing to dim your light for anyone. If it makes them uncomfortable, so be it. So stepping into your confidence is something that will happen as you start to raise your vibration. You realize that someone else's reaction to you is none of your business, and you stop caring. And this, for some of us, is a real victory, because for so many, especially for starseeds, have really struggled with sharing their authentic self. As you start to raise your frequency, you start to remember that authenticity is the only thing that matters. And you'll start to get very good at seeing things that are not in integrity. So you will start to realize those teachers that you've been listening to who are coming from ego. So these are the things that you start to recognize as you start to get more discerning with energy. And that goes hand in hand with raising your vibration. Now, something else that you will often notice as you start to raise your vibration is that your relationships start to change. Because again, you're not going to be a match to the same relationships that you were at a lower frequency. So as you raise your frequency, anyone who's not a match to that starts to fade away. So you may notice that for a while, your circle starts getting smaller. So you may notice that people start to fade away from you because they're just not energetically in alignment with you anymore. And new, more higher vibrational people, more supportive people start to fill those gaps. You start to draw to you your authentic tribe. So this is something that so many light workers and starseeds have wanted so badly, is to find their soul tribe. I hear this from almost all of my clients. It's such a strong desire in the spiritual community, is to find people who are authentic, people who are truly vibrating from a position of wanting the best for everyone. And this is something that you'll start to see happening as you raise your frequency. And something else that happens as you start to raise your frequency is you start to be much less bothered. So all those little tiny annoyances of life that used to make you crazy, those personal habits of other people that used to just set your nerves on edge, start to not bother you because you start to move out of separation. You're not pushing against as many things in your environment. And so you just start to get more chill with everything. You can be sitting in traffic and not get into that anxiety that you used to get into, that frustration, that anger. Instead, you're like, this is where I'm meant to be right now. So as you start to raise your frequency, you start to find that you get much more tolerant of everything. Now, when things are disresonant to you, when you recognize that something is at a different vibration, you find it much easier to move away from it, but without getting into that resistance with it. You're not fighting with those things that used to annoy you. You just move gently away from it. The P's have been making a joke lately that we are all turning into spiritual Roombas, those little round vacuum cleaner guys that they just bump into the slightest bump on the floor and they go in a different direction, away from the obstacle. That is what we are becoming as we raise our frequency. We go in the direction that the energy is flowing, what is feeling freeing to you, and you move away from anything that feels like conflict or drama or resistance. But you do it from a position of neutrality so that you're not pushing against it. So as you start to raise your frequency, you start to get much more easygoing because you just flow in the direction of whatever is happening. We get out of that control energy that is so tempting that the ego mind wants to keep us in control. But as you raise your vibration, you start to turn more and more things over to your higher self. And as you do that, your higher self guides you, and your higher self knows how to steer you around the obstacles. So things start to get easier. They start to flow more. So these are all some signs that you're actually raising your vibration, that all that spiritual work you've been doing for so long is working. So these are some of the signs you can look to for confirmation of all that great spiritual work you're doing. These are some of the signs that you'll start to see in your life as you raise your vibration. And the more you lean into these, go in the direction of what feels good to you, the faster you'll move. So this is what the P's wanted to share with us in today's video. As always, if you want to work with the P's one-on-one, click the link in the description. And I hope this has helped you. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.